Hello and welcome to the channel. Let's first start off by looking at the setup. And so for this main quest, it doesn't matter what weapon you bring in, but the ASG is always a good call. And so if you want the attachments that I used for the ASG, here they are on screen right now. And for equipment, you'll want to bring in the shock stick and the Molotov. And so you'll also want to spawn in with Ether Shroud. If you're playing co-op, I highly recommend having everybody else also use Ether Shroud. And if you have the augments, use the Cloak of Our Players augment and the extra charge augment. That way you can have 8 charges if you have a full squad. And for Gobblegums, it doesn't matter which one you use, like the boss fight isn't hard, so I would just bring in Shields Up and maybe the Insta-Kill Gobblegum, but I would not bring in Idolize because for every reason, Idolize does not work against the boss, and he will still attack you when the Gobblegum is active. Now for perk augments, the only one I can recommend here is Espresso for Melee Macchiato. This will make the sword attacks much faster. And if you want some bonus rewards to help with the boss fight, equip the Maya Operator to do a side quest. When you first spawn in, to get some bonus rewards, you'll want to go over to the left door here and go prone and scare off this rat. And then you want to go over to this window here and break the glass and pick up that piece of cheese. Now you just need to progress to the bug round. And so if you have the scrap, upgrade your weapon. Now head on over through the door on the right and go prone next to the van to scare off this rat and kill all the bugs except for one parasite. And then you want to head on over to the cannon. Then you go prone and scare off this rat. And then you go over to the cannon and rotate it and fire it to open up the castle. And then you go over to the right, scare off this rat here. And then you open up the door on the left and go in there killing environment zombies. Then you go to stamina up to get the 100 points. Then you go over here and go prone and scare off this rat. Then you want to go downstairs into the basement. And now you want to break any boxes that you find to get some scrap. Then you go over here to scare off this rat. And then you want to go through this door. And then you want to break 2 locks on this crate. And at this point, if you're low or out of ammo, kill the parasite to make it drop the max ammo. And then shoot the final lock. And then grab the max ammo and start blasting at the doppelgast. Now that you got the crystal and put it into the portal to unlock Pack-a-Punch, now you want to go through this door. You want to go over here and scare off this rat. And then you want to go over here and talk to Craft. And now by round 8, you should have enough points to get a quick revive and Pack-a-Punch. Then you want to head on through this door here. Then you want to go prone next to this pallet and then scare off this rat. And then you want to go for the door that's just opened up. And then you go prone here to scare off this rat. And then you want to look up and shoot this crystal to have it aligned with another crystal. And the same thing will happen with the next crystal. And so you just want to keep doing that until you can pick up this jewelry piece. And then you want to bring that over here to charge it with zombie souls. And after that is done, a chest will spawn. And now by round 10, you should have enough points to get through this door, buy Juggernog, and get the double plate armor. And once the night zombie spawns in, you can now kill it, grab the stamp that drops, then bring it over to this statue, grab the sword from it, and then that statue will spawn in 4 glowing parasites. You then gotta kill a parasite and run over to the speed cola area, and then go over to this door here and smack the door with the sword. And that energy from the sword will transfer to the door. And so you gotta kill a parasite again, and then smack the door with the sword. And then you just keep doing that until there are 4 symbols on the door. And now you can enter through the door, put the sword on its pedestal here, and then shoot in these 4 symbols. The first symbol is a circle with a tiny dot, the second symbol is a snowflake, the third symbol is a triangle, and the final symbol is a circle with a line. Now once you shoot those symbols in order, the sword will now be upgraded, and then you can go over to this chest and hit it with the sword. Now the lion sword can actually revive you if it's fully charged, but how this works is you need to have your melee weapon set to weapon cycle. That way when you get knocked down, instead of holding a pistol, you'll be holding a sword. And now this will only work if you don't have a pistol currently in your loadout or the ray gun. So as long as you have the sword in your hand and you have it fully charged, you can just use the sword's ability to revive you. If you're playing solo, you'll have to have a self-revive or you'll just get a game over. Now once you have your next stamp, you can go to this statue and take that sword from it and then bring this sword over to the dragon statue. Then once the sword's in the dragon statue, you gotta go to these bonfires. You then need to interact with them, and then you need to run back, well, on fire to the dragon statue. During this process, you'll be losing health, and so there'll be zombies that spawn in that you can just punch to insta-kill and regain your health. Now once you do that for all 3 of the bonfires, the sword will now be upgraded. And so once you have your sword, you can go to these wood piles and use the sword's ability or a Molotov to light them up. And once you have all 3 lit up, you can then kill this gas that spawns in and grab the item that it drops. And then you bring that item over to this circle to fill it with zombie souls, and then the chest will spawn. Then you take the dragon sword and smack the box. And now with the third stamp, you can go to this statue and grab that sword. Then you go down into the basement where your quick revive is and kill the zombie that spawns in that has a lightning rod. Now pick up the lightning rod, and then you go over to this location near Speed Cola and use a shock charge or dead wire on this electrical box, and a lightning rod will drop onto the ground. And then you go over to Deadshot, and there's also a lightning rod there. Now before you go over to the next step, there's also a rat located near Deadshot that you can go prone to and scare off. Now you want to go into the barn and then shoot off this horseshoe and pick it up. Now you want to go to this balcony past Elemental Pop and insert these lightning rods into this container. And now this will start a trial. Once lightning hits your sword, you gotta hit the container with the sword. Now once each lightning rod has an electrical charge, you can then insert your sword into it and have it upgraded. Now once you have the sword, you can then go into the cannon and launch yourself back to spawn with the horseshoe. There'll be a cloud spawning in somewhere on the left or right side of the map where you run over to and pick up the charged horseshoe. Then you can bring that horseshoe over to the spawn area right here, and then fill it with zombie souls, and then a chest will spawn. Then you open that with the deer sword, and then have your game freeze because the servers suck for the game. And then you have to restart because you've lost all your progress and there's no temporary save file. Now that you've gained back all your progress, you can now grab the raven sword from this statue, then go look around these bookshelves around here, and go around here to find some type of skull or fossil. Now you pick that up, then you bring it all the way back to spawn to this wall here, and insert the item here and a sword. So the item you get will be different for every single game. So here's all the combinations for the puzzle here. So once you put in the right symbols, a trial will start. And I gotta lead these 3 orbs into this small black hole. And once 3 orbs get into that black hole, it'll move to a different location, and you gotta repeat. And you gotta do that like 3 times total before you can interact with the wall and upgrade the sword. Now that you have the raven sword, you can now go into the basement where Pack-a-Punch is and use the escape hatch, and then shoot the raven that's located near the exit of the escape hatch. Now you just shoot the raven when it's flying around, and it'll drop his talon, which then you can pick it up and bring it down into the basement to fill it with zombie souls to make a spawn chest, and then hit this chest with the raven sword. And now that you're near Pack-a-Punch, as long as you've shot all 10 rats that I mentioned earlier, you can then go over here into this corner where there's a bunch of rats surrounding a plate. You then interact with the plate to put down the cheese, and the rats will eat the cheese and run away, and a bunch of rewards will pop up, including a crown that you can pick up and wear. And by now you should have double pack on your shotgun or whatever weapon you're using, plus whatever sword you want to use. So now you can do the Maya side mission. So now you just need to go over to the radio here and interact with it. And then once the dialogue is done, you can go through the door and kill all the vermin that spawn in. Then once you enter in further, some gas will spawn in. Then once you kill those gas, there'll be a boss gas that spawns in, but you should be able to handle that pretty well with the equipment that you have. So once you kill that gas, you'll drop a key that you can pick up and unlock the door. Then you'll trigger a cutscene, and once the cutscene's done, you'll be kicked back out into the castle area with a bunch of rewards. And so for the next step, you can actually skip a part of the main quest if you use some memorization. So there's some pages here that you need to pick up. It's gotta pick up these pages in order, and you'll be seeing that in the gameplay. The first page I pick up has the first symbol for the trap that I need to use in order for the next step to be able to proceed. So my first symbol was what I call an everything symbol. It has every little triangle and eye symbol there is, but it's missing a circle. And the next trap I need to use has a spike symbol on it. So it just has eyeball and 4 spikes on it. And that's just for my game because it'll be different every single time. And so the order of the symbols will be completely different. So as long as you use the traps according to the pages that you've picked up in the proper order, you should be able to proceed to the next step perfectly fine. So once you're done with that step, you can go over to this wall here, and it tells you what statues you need to salute in a clockwise order. So this will be different every game, but for my game, the first one I had to do was the deer statue. So you had to use a lightning incantation on a deer statue and then inspect the sword. And so you have to do this with every single statue. You have to use the incantation to the element of the sword. And then a mythic orb will drop that you need to pick up, and then you can bring that orb over here to start the lion trial. And this trial just requires you to run into these green orbs as fast as you can. Now a lot of zombies will spawn in, so you gotta be pretty quick. You gotta make sure you also have the equipment ready to kill them. So you gotta make sure you run through as many green orbs as possible to complete the trial. After that trial is done, you take the orb, then you bring that orb over here and start the dragon trial. For this trial, you should bring in the dragon sword and the fire incantation. And so for this trial, you need to kill zombies with fire effect. So if you have the fire ammo mod, that will really help out. So you just gotta make sure that you kill zombies with the fire effect. Then you can bring the orb back to spawn and make sure you have the deer sword with the lightning incantations and kill zombies with the dead wire effect. Then you can take that orb and bring it down to the basement and make sure you have the raven sword with you this time and the void incantations. So you need to kill zombies using the void effect. You can also use the black hole ability from the raven sword to help you out there too, so make sure you have all the swords charged when you bring them for the trials. So once that's done, you can now bring the orb over to the wall back with those symbols, and the wall would disappear and you'll be able to pick up the guardian key with some dialogue from the owl. And so you can bring that key to finally go back to spawn and put it in front of the guardian statue and start the boss fight. And so now you just want to make sure that you're all set up for the boss fight with a triple pack gun and legendary rarity, all perks, at least second pack on your second weapon. You can also use an impact grenade or a semtex against the boss, because for whatever reason those are super effective against his armor. But other than that, when you spawn in, you just gotta destroy the armor on the guardian, attack the weak spots, and deplete his health bar until he goes into his invincibility state, which then you just kill a bunch of zombies. Then you gotta do the same thing again, but this time the arena will be slightly smaller. So you just gotta make sure you can destroy the armor and deal mega damage to the boss. And like I said before, Idolize does not work against the boss. Aether Shroud is much more effective. And so the boss will go into a second invincibility state and make the arena much smaller. And so after you wipe out the zombie horde, you can now take out a mutant injection and try to deal as much damage to the boss as possible in the mutant injection. And if you're playing co-op, have your teammate use Aether Shroud while using the augment that cloaks other players. That way you'll also be cloaked while also being in the mutant injection form. So that way the guardian will hopefully not attack you. And so you should have no problem dealing out the rest of the damage to the boss. And so once you defeat the boss, the amulet will drop, so you can pick it up, and then the cutscene will play.